of Education. Notice of this meeting was sent to the Star Ledger and Cablevision of Elizabeth on Friday, March 6th. In addition, this notice is posted on the bulletin board in the lobby of 500 North Broad Street, and pursuant to this act, a copy has been filed with the City Clerk of Elizabeth, New Jersey. We want to welcome everyone present here at School Number 51 and to our television viewers to this March 12th meeting, 2020 meeting of the Board of Education. We are here to govern, provide management oversight, and make policy for the district. The superintendent manages the district. This is a meeting of the board and public, not a meeting of the public. This meeting is being recorded and will become part of the Elizabeth Board of Education permanent record. In order that the recording will adequately reflect the proceedings, please refrain from talking while others are speaking. We also ask that you silence the sound on your electronic devices, since it is legally mandated that these proceedings interfere with our recording capabilities. We are pleased that you have taken this time this evening to join us here at our Board of Education meeting. Thank you for your interest in the Elizabeth Public Schools. There will be a public portion for citizens to address the board. Participants for the public portion may sign in up to the start of the meeting so that they may have the opportunity to speak. The sign-in sheet states the name, the address, telephone number, and reason that the person wants to comment, whether it is an agenda item or a general education comment. Mr. Kennedy, roll call, please.
Here.
Hernandez.
Here.
Jacobs.
Present.
Marina Ortega.
Present.
Neron. Pastana.
Present.
Barbosa.
Here. Can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Commissioner Jacobs, if you can lead us, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And now we'll be listening to the Star Spangled Banner by Francis Scott Key.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you. You please be seated. God bless America. And now our Pledge of Ethics by Commissioner Natalie Hernandez.
As a member of the Elizabeth Public Schools professional learning community, I will treat people as I wish to be treated. To do that, I pledge to understand that the school community is a special place. Listen respectfully when someone else is speaking by paying close attention and not interrupting. Speak in a calm voice and use proper language. Dress appropriately for teaching and learning. Inspire the best in myself and others by celebrating successes and learning from mistakes. Care about others by demonstrating acts of kindness, and be a lifelong learner by taking every opportunity to learn from others.
Thank you, Commissioner. And now we'll have our short core beliefs video before we begin.
We believe all students can learn and achieve at high levels regardless of race, ethnicity, culture, neighborhood, household income, or home language.
All means all. We will narrow the achievement gaps of students by providing a high-quality education to ensure that all of our students are college and career ready.
We believe teachers make a positive difference in student achievement. Teachers will prepare all students for success in college, career, and our technological global society.
We believe that teachers are central in a child's life. Having an effective teacher is the single most important factor in student success.
We believe that effective leaders demonstrate unwavering commitment to high levels of achievement for all students.
Leaders, we exemplify and support practices that promote high level of achievement for all students.
We believe that parents and caregivers are both valued partners and active participants in their children's learning. A shared sense of mutual responsibility for learning is the foundation for family involvement to ensure student success.
We are committed to engaging parents and caregivers in their children's education. We will develop a coordinated strategy that enables parents and caregivers to play an active role in building and sustaining family support for their children's learning and academic success.
We believe that every member of the Elizabeth Public Schools team has responsibility in producing and supporting high levels of achievement for all students.
Every member of the Elizabeth Public Schools team will make a measurable contribution to the success and achievement of all students by ensuring equitable distribution of resources throughout the organization.
Thank you. And now we'll continue on to something that's been very important and has been going on. I'm going to give way to our superintendent, which is going to present our very important preparedness plan for what we have to look forward in case of any school closure. And we all know with the COVID-19, the coronavirus becoming prevalent. This is a very important matter. We actually have been working, the team has been working really hard, including our superintendent with all the administrators to prepare this plan so that if it has to go into action, every single aspect is taken care of. And the most important part is that our children are still being educated every single day that they deserve. And I will give it to our superintendent. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to begin by stating that we're working diligently to provide a safe environment for your children while causing as little disruption as possible to student learning. This is a difficult time, and there is no easy path. Every day presents new challenges. We're doing our very best with the information that we have at a time when information is changing very quickly. With that said, it is important for me to start with this presentation by emphasizing our communication goals and protocols. First and foremost, we need to ensure that all information released to the public is provided through Mayor J. Christian Bolich and also myself. Let me review with you what those goals are. To provide accurate, consistent, and comprehensive information about a pandemic outbreak, including case definitions, treatment options, infection control measures, and reporting requirements. Instill and maintain public confidence in the schools and the county's public health care systems and their ability to respond to and manage a pandemic outbreak. Ensure that there's an efficient mechanism for managing information between the Union County Division of Health, emergency response agencies, health system partners, and our schools. Contribute to maintaining order, minimizing public panic and fear, and facilitating public compliance by providing accurate, rapid, and complete information. Address rumors, inaccuracies, and misperceptions as quickly as possible, and prevent the stigmatization of affected groups. I'd like to review the communication protocols that we currently have in place in our district. First and foremost, with regard to our collaboration with the Union County Division of Health and/or the City of Elizabeth Health Officer, the responsibility is to educate providers, public officials, schools, and emergency responders about a pandemic and steps that they should take to plan for pandemic outbreaks. Under my direction, the district administration will assess the needs of all of our schools, intensify public education efforts about pandemic outbreaks, and steps that can be taken to reduce exposure to infection. Information may be disseminated in a variety of ways, whether it is website postings, parent letters, or school newsletters, Blackboard Connect messaging, which are our robocalls. Coordination with the local county division of health and/or City of Elizabeth health officer and the New Jersey Department of Education to develop common health messages and educational materials in multiple languages. So as part of our process during this situation, we continue to review information from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and New Jersey Department of Health. I've provided for you on the screen a timeline of the communications that we have shared with our school community as of this evening. So as you could see, we started on January 28th, and then as we received additional information from both the Health Department and the Department of Education, we immediately notified our community beginning on March 2nd, running through this current week on March 10th. So you're able to see on our website, and this presentation will be available this evening on our website. You'll be able to review all of those communications that have been sent out to our community. In addition, we have also posted a series of resources for our parents and families that are available on our website. We've made many of these resources available to you on our website, and we will be posting this presentation, as I stated before. I believe it's very important to provide parents a multitude of ways to access information. These are additional resources that are on our website that are directly from the New Jersey Department of Health and the CDC, and all of these communications are available in multiple languages. As you can see here, EPS working with the New Jersey Department of Health, both agencies recommend that schools should continue to collaborate, share information, and review plans with local health officials to help protect the whole community, including those with special health needs. And as you can see from the slide before you, currently, as of today, March 12th, the New Jersey Department of Health is not recommending that our schools proactively close. Closing schools have significant negative impacts on our community. EPS Central Administration has been meeting with all principals on a frequent basis to provide information to schools about how to stay open safely. Several community factors have been taken into consideration to not recommend the closures of schools at this time. Most important to note is that we do not currently have a case of coronavirus. School closures have a significant negative impact on our community. So as you can see, I've included the community factors. Children are not known to get seriously ill from COVID-19. Closing schools may not be effective because some children may congregate anyway at other locations. Many parents, such as healthcare workers, need to be at work. If these critical workers stay home with children, it causes significant impacts on the healthcare system and other institutions that are essential for our community to function. If schools close, some children might have to stay home with alternative caregivers, such as elders who are more vulnerable. We don't know how effective children are in spreading this disease at this present time. Additionally, the New Jersey Department of Education and the Department of Health recommend that schools design plans to minimize disruption of the educational process. This evening, I'll be presenting our school preparedness plan that defines how we will ensure the continuity of instruction. At the Elizabeth Public Schools, our plan builds on our everyday practices of encouraging hand hygiene, monitoring absenteeism, and communicating routinely with local, regional, and national experts. We've participated in weekly conference calls with Governor Murphy, with our Commissioner of Education, Dr. Lamont Repollet, and most recently with the White House. It's important to note that we are fortunate in our district that we have a robust technological structure, as well as teachers trained in a multitude of online platforms, applications, and instructional strategies. I've included on the screen that you see before you one of the communications from the State Department with regard to implementing a health-related school closure. In the event a Board of Education is required to close following a consultation with the New Jersey Department due to health-related event, the Board of Education may utilize home instruction to provide instructional services to enrolled students. The purpose of this evening is to be able to define for you how we intend to ensure continuity of instruction for all of our children. We abide by New Jersey Code, and there is a provision for home instruction services which has guided our development of our plan. My team will continue to meet daily to monitor this situation and communicate all relevant information. I think it's important to share with you that the code references the importance of direct services, online instruction, and other means developed by the district to meet the needs of the students. This evening, you will see how, in fact, we're going to deliver those services. I also want to share with you that in the event that we are impacted by a public health-related closure and we have to, as a result, have access to home instruction services, this will count towards the 180-day requirement. In other words, for every day in which our children are home, that will count towards the requirement of 180 days in order for us to successfully complete the school year. I'd like to reference two of our board policies that guided our work. One of the key principles that the Commissioner of Education spoke to was the importance of equitable access to instruction for all students. In our district, we have an equity policy that our board developed and we are implementing. And I'd like to point your attention to critical aspects of that policy. The Elizabeth Board of Education is committed to the success of every student in each of our schools and to achieving our mission of ensuring that all students graduate ready for college, career, and life. We believe that it is the right of every student to have an equitable educational experience within our school system and ensure all students graduate from the Elizabeth Public Schools ready to succeed in a racially and culturally diverse local, national, and global society. Educational equity benefits all of our students in our entire community. The district shall provide every student with equitable access to a high-quality curriculum, support, facilities, and other educational resources. And the district shall provide multiple pathways to success in order to meet the needs of the diverse student body and shall actively encourage, support, and expect high academic achievement for all students. Throughout the presentation this evening, you will see constant references to our equity policy because it is about educational equity. It's about ensuring that we are continuing the work in the home so that it's seamless. The work that is done, completed in our classrooms, will continue in the home. We will be abiding by our policy, our expectations to ensure that we're supporting all of our students and providing the differentiations necessary to support children. A second policy that I would like to refer to that this plan is guided by is our board policy on our theory of action managed instruction. Our theory of action, it builds on the beliefs of how children learn, the conditions that best promote learning, and the policies, management systems, and the culture that best promote the commitment and high performance of our adults. And in accordance with our theory of action, the essential elements are comprehensive and aligned district curriculum. I'm going to stop there for a moment because I think it's important to share that the plan that we have designed provides consistency each and every day, regardless of the classroom that you walk into. I'll use first grade as an example. I can walk into school 2, school 16, school 23, school 28, and in first grade, they are abiding by our district's pacing guide. So essentially, all of our children across the district are essentially within a week on the same, reading the same books, following the same assignments, and being assessed in the exact same manner. That is what an alignment of district curriculum is. That is alignment of a pacing guide to ensure that we have the same level of high expectations in all of our classrooms. We have committed to that in the design of our school preparedness plan in terms of the delivery of instruction while our children are home if we find ourselves in that situation. So I'm going to continue. I think I just went too far. Yes. And once again, review with our families. Our custodians continue to prioritize the daily disinfecting of our schools, including all touch points. This is in accordance with our safety plans that we have in place. I would like to encourage our parents to continue to speak to their children about the importance of routine hand washing, appropriately covering coughs and sneezes, and overall good hygiene practices. Just as importantly, when children have a fever, they should stay home and not return to school until they are fever-free for 24 hours without medication. Throughout this presentation, there are references in our school preparedness plan with regard to the technological infrastructure that we have in place. And I credit our amazing IT department that we have, many of the team members that are here this evening that have been working with us day and night on the preparation of this plan and given us the opportunity to consult with them in terms of what would work best if we are in a situation where we have a school closure and we need to ensure the education of our children at home. So we thought that this slide would be appropriate. It captures all of our systems that we have, that we utilize on a daily basis, and how, in fact, our families, our children would continue to access those systems at home. So I referenced the good hygiene and in fact referenced the amazing work that our custodians are doing. So I'm going to move on with regard to our school community strategy. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention have issued the most readily available interventions to help slow the transmission of the virus in communities. The term that is currently being used by the Centers for Disease Control is community mitigation. The priority at this time is to provide our school community with a set of actions that we can take to slow the spread of the respiratory virus infections. I would like to share with you that as part of this plan at this time, field trips to mass gathering locations, amusement parks, concerts, arenas, etc., are being postponed. We will reevaluate this procedure after 30 days to account for events such as proms, performances, senior events, and graduations. Medium and smaller gatherings will be looked at individually based on the type of activity, the location, and ability for social distancing. School-level activities will continue as planned. However, community activities are being postponed. And I'll give you a concrete example. An example would include a National Honor Society ceremony at a school-level event, continuing as planned, versus a community organization hosting a pancake breakfast at a school, which would be postponed. So at a school, and we're defining medium and smaller gatherings as less than 200 individuals, as Governor Murphy announced today, we want to ensure that we continue with our school events, ensuring that we are honoring the good work that our children are doing and ensuring our parents are present to be able to celebrate those successes. And at the same time, I'm ensuring that we are protecting our schools by ensuring that we are not bringing folks from all throughout the city into a school. Another example is athletic events will proceed as scheduled for the time being, but the decision was made today by the New Jersey Interscholastic Athletic Association that spectators are not allowed at all events. The only attendees will be our athletic director, supervisor of athletics, coaches, players, security personnel, and obviously Elizabeth Police. So those are some of the highlights that we have, that I'm referencing, that are included in our plan, and as you could see, are captured on the screen before you. Students will be able to continue learning in a variety of ways in the event of school closures. To prepare to maximize educational resources, families should take the following actions now. So I'm encouraging all of our families, our parents, our guardians, if you have not done so, create a PowerSchool Parent Portal account. Directions on how to create an account can be found on the Elizabeth Public Schools website, and I've included that link on this presentation, and as I stated before, this presentation will go live immediately after our board meeting. Ensure that your contact information is up to date in PowerSchool. That is important so we can continue to communicate with you in the most effective manner. Also, as we talk about our plan moving forward, we're offering to our families a free copy of Microsoft Office Suite onto a student's device. In the event that we have a school closure and children need to take their devices home, students will be able to access Outlook, be able to create Excel spreadsheets, anything that is required in their instructional plan. So the intent is to try and facilitate as best possible. So now I turn to our instructional plan, as we call e-remote learning. E-remote learning allows the Elizabeth Public School District to extend learning into the home and keep everyone safe during emergency closures. E-remote learning is learning utilizing traditional instructional packets for children who are in grades pre-K to 2. So children that are in preschool, in kindergarten, in first and second grade would be receiving instructional packets. I'm going to go through specifically what that will look like later in our presentation. And we'll also be leveraging electronic technologies to access specific educational curricula outside of the traditional classroom for grades 3 to 8 and 9 through 12. Lessons will be provided to each student consisting of assignments that will cover anywhere from 14 up to 30 days. So questions that parents may have: what can I do to make sure my child or my children are successful with their remote learning day? Our number one goal with e-remote learning is to make sure your child continues to learn and is safe with this new process. And I want to stress the importance of stating that this is a brand new process that we have designed. We are implementing this for the first time at the Elizabeth Public Schools. There'll be many things your children can share about the learning and demonstrate success. There'll also be opportunities for improvement because this is brand new. So we're going to learn together and grow together as we become more familiar with our e-remote learning system. When students return to school, there'll be an opportunity for the students and teachers to share the strengths and the challenges that they had with e-remote learning days. Second question that parents will more than likely be asking: how will my child and children get the e-remote learning assignments that they need to complete at home? Teachers will have lessons for their students via packets, as I stated before, in grades pre-K to 2 and or uploaded in PowerSchool Unified Classroom. Once again, it is critical for our parents to have a PowerSchool account so that you can stay in contact with our teachers with regard to any questions, any concerns that you may have with regard to the ability to properly support children at home. prior to leaving the school building, students will receive the necessary resources to complete their work at home. Students who are English language learners, special education, will receive additional materials. There'll be some lessons that will have videos or other media. Teachers will work with our students to have this information downloaded to their laptop prior to leaving the school for the day. So I'm going to start going into the specifics of our plan. So we talked about that at the preschool level, there will be packets that will be going home. So what is contained in those packets? So we have packets that include activities in language arts. It's reading and writing. And the suggestion that I have for our families is to ensure that children spend a minimum of 20 minutes completing those assignments. We have designed reading and writing activities that address various skills, as you see on the slide before you. And also included is a link where there are stories that children will be able to access so that they can continue the experience they have in their preschool classrooms. In mathematics, we are also recommending that children spend time with their parents, minimum of 20 minutes daily, completing the assignments that will be provided that will address the skills that you have before you. Numbers, geometry, measurement, a number of activities, fun activities that our preschool teachers and supervisor and director have designed for our children that is an extension of what they're doing right now in their classrooms. Science, also a minimum of 20 minutes daily. And we've included the same skills that are being taught in the classroom, and there's also 18 easy science experiments that parents can do with their preschoolers at home, and we have provided a safe and secure site on YouTube to access that. In addition, because our children are used to experiencing art, music, and physical education every week, we have included that as well. So for each day, 1 day of art, 1 day of music, 1 day of physical education. We're recommending, please, no more than 20 minutes because preschoolers at that age, that's the most that they can give, 20 minutes at that time. So we have packets and websites available to address each of the areas of creative representation, music, and movement. So we tried to replicate preschoolers' day as much as possible so that they're continuing their learning at home. Kindergarten, as you will see, is very similar, and we have designed activities for all of our general education children, all of our bilingual, and our special education and class support children. And those packets will include, very similar to preschool, 20 minutes daily of language arts, mathematics, science, social studies, and we've also included art, music, physical education, and library activities. Again, recommendation for children in kindergarten not to exceed 20 minutes per subject. We're going to move into first grade, and as you can see, now that we're in first grade, we're adding a little bit more time. Now it's 30 minutes daily for our first graders, and as you could see, in the same areas that we talked about in kindergarten. So packets of instruction, and they will all be very clearly labeled, so our families will not have any trouble at all. You will know what is 1 week of instruction. It's labeled week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. So everything will be very clearly labeled for our families, so it'll be very easy to follow. Language arts, math, science, social studies, and art, music, phys ed, and library, a minimum of 30 minutes per day for each of the areas. And in second grade, it's exactly the same as first grade. We provide the second grade materials in each of the areas, and the guidance is the same, 30 minutes as a minimum per area. These are activities that children will be able to do. It's what we refer to as independent work. So children will be able to complete these assignments with minimal support. There are a lot of the skills that we have been reviewing and preparing our children for. So I can assure you that they will be very well supported. Then we move into grades 3 to 8. So now we're moving from packets of instructional materials to now our children bringing home their laptops they use in school every single day. They're bringing their laptops home, at the elementary level, and they will be able to leverage PowerSchool Unified Classroom, so online, and be able to access their work in the areas that you see before you. Language arts literacy, now we're in 3rd through 8th grade, so of course we're adding additional time. The activities will range from 30 to 45 minutes daily, very similar to their experience in school. Mathematics, science, social studies, art, music, physical education, and health. Also for our elementary, for our ESL, English as a Second Language, children that receive the services, we have also included lessons for us, activities for the students to complete in grades K to 2. It will be a minimum of 30 minutes per week, and in grades 3 to 8, no more than 30 to 45 minutes per week. We also will include activities for our students in grades 3 to 8 that are taking world languages, 30 minutes per week. And as we move to the upper grades, we're now in high school. So on this slide, what I have done is included the schedules that 2 of our high schools follow at this present time. Johnny Dwyer Technology Academy and Admiral William F. Halsey Health and Public Safety Academy have what's called an A-B schedule. So as you can see before you, and I will walk you through how this is laid out. The first column to your left, that's entitled Instructional Time. We're asking our high school students to log on beginning at 9 o'clock in the morning with what would have been their first class. If they were in school, they would be starting at 7:45. Their first class. I'll share with you a little bit later in the presentation why we structured the times as 9 to 3. We want to ensure that our teachers are online at the same time as our students so that they can interact with the students, be able to answer any and all of their questions and provide supports. So 9 to 9:45, the students would be in their first period class. So when they're in school, they're following the same schedule as they would in school. Their first period class, if it's English 1, they're logging on, they're going into English 1 from 9 to 9:45, and they'll be interacting with their teacher. 9:45 to 10:30, period 2, 10:30 to 11:15, period 3. Then we move to the afternoon, 1:30 to 2:15, period 4, and we've even accounted for our high school students that are taking credit recovery courses either during the day, after school, on Saturday. We've included a time to ensure they're able to continue that work. And as you can see, the remainder of a high school student's day now takes place on the second day, periods 5 through 9 at the suggested times. So what we have done with this plan is we've ensured that our students are continuing the schedule that they now have in high school. They'll be able to do that at home with guided times and opportunities for interaction. And this schedule is the schedule that the remainder of our high schools are following, and as you could see, it's structured in the same way in terms of the start and end times. We're recommending at the high school level for all of our 7 high school academies that students in each subject spend 45 minutes as a minimum. They can certainly exceed that if they wish, but the recommendation is for 45 minutes, which mirrors the instructional time that we currently have at the high school, which is 47 minutes. So as you could see before you, we have the entire 9-period day spread over 2 days, including any after-school remediation or Saturday courses they may be taking. It's all built in so that student can access the content online. Another question that a parent may have is, how long do children have to complete assignments on remote learning days? Well, our students are all expected to complete the lessons assigned by their teachers on a daily basis. It's just as if you're in school, you're required to complete all of your assignments, the same expectation at home. Remote learning days are about extending learning outside of the school building and not stopping instruction, and I can't emphasize that enough. It is important, And as our Commissioner of Education, Dr. Repolet stated, the goal is to ensure continuity of instruction, and I believe that that is what we have achieved with our plan. Teachers will be required to not only go online to interact with students, be able to respond to emails, any questions students may have with regard to any challenges that they're experiencing or any clarification, opportunity to reteach a skill. Teachers will also be responsible for grading those assignments and entering them into PowerSchool so that you as parents are able to see how your children are performing. We've taken a very realistic approach. We know that there may be situations with coronavirus where perhaps there is a day that the family needs to take someone to the doctor for a checkup, correct? And on that day, perhaps the child may not be home to be able to use their laptop to complete their work. We've taken that into account. And what we have done is built into this plan that children will have 5 school days to complete any makeup work that they are assigned, right? So if on Monday a child's not online because there's something happening in the home and they need to accompany their family, they have 5 days to make up the assignments for that day. So we're treating it very similar to the school day, as you can see. How can we work with the teacher? Parents may be asking that question. Well, our teachers, and you've heard me referencing all throughout, in grades 3 to 12, our teachers will be available throughout the day via virtual office hours. And I have listed the hours for you on the screen. Our teachers are encouraged to log on every single day from 9 to 10:30 in order to check in with students, or you as parents, you may have a question and you've sent an email to your child's teacher. There may be an opportunity for our teachers to engage in the lessons with the students and provide clarification. And they then resume in the afternoon from 1:30 to 3 o'clock. Why the gap in between, you may be asking? The reason we did that is we want to ensure all of our teachers have 1 hour for lunch, as well as they have their preparatory period. A preparatory period in our world is an opportunity for a teacher to review lesson plans, be able to ensure that they are continuing their work, their understanding of what it is that students are doing that day. In the afternoon, they have the opportunity of having office hours, so another opportunity to interact with students, as well as grading the work that your children will be completing and uploading the grades in PowerSchool. I'd also like to share with our parents address a concern that you may be having. As I noted on the presentation, please note that a certified teacher will be available for all teachers that are on a leave of absence. What does that mean? So if right now your child is in 2nd grade, and I'll use that as an example, and they have a substitute teacher, they will not have a substitute teacher while they are at home completing their assignments. We have reallocated staff that are normally available to provide additional services to be able to cover those classes. So you will have an Elizabeth Board of Education certified teacher that will be covering all of our teachers that are currently out on a leave of absence. They may, for a variety of reasons, and as a result, your children currently have a substitute teacher. So we felt very strongly about this, and we worked very hard. I want to thank our assistant superintendents, our instructional directors, and our instructional supervisors, because the time and effort that was put in and trying to ensure that we thought of everything that would help our families, and we felt that this was a key area. What happens when a child has a substitute? We wanted to ensure that there was an educator available. So continuity of services, there are a lot of supportive services that are currently available in our schools, and we wanted to make sure that we continue to provide these services while our children are at home. First is tutoring. We currently have, they're referred to as interventionists, available to our children in grades K to 2. Our children will be provided with literacy intervention packets so they can continue working on those skills throughout the week that they normally would be doing with their tutor. 504 related services. We will ensure that all of our teachers have the children's 504 plans included in their Power School Unified system, ensure that they are monitoring those plans and abiding by them. So all of those accommodations, the 504 case managers will be following up during this time with teachers if any assistance is needed to deliver those accommodations. I'd also like to note that as part of 504, we have children that receive other services such as occupational therapy and physical therapy. In working with Trinitas Hospital, who has been incredible throughout the last 3 days, Trinitas will be providing packets to all of our 504 students to address both occupational therapy and physical therapy as recommendations. Accommodations not offered out of the school-based setting because the school district is closed are obviously one-to-one personal aids, FM amplification system, and any other assistive technology and devices as a result of the district being closed. We also will be providing mental health services to our children in grades 3 to 8. We'll continue to provide students, our counselors, our social workers with weekly check-ins via online platform. This will be via email. Continue to monitor students' academic performance. They will deliver intervention strategies via an online platform. They will provide social, emotional activities for our children via pre-recorded lessons. There will be a process in place for students to contact in case of a crisis, and also all parents will have access to the district's community resource guide in the event that they do need to reach out to the various community agencies for any purpose during this time. As you can see, these services continue in high school, so guidance counselors and social workers will provide the weekly check-ins via the online platform, via email when appropriate. They will continue to monitor students' academic performance, including APEX, which is our credit recovery, as well as monitoring completion towards graduation requirements. They will provide intervention strategies that will be delivered online. Also maintain a daily schedule for college enrollment. Process for students to contact in case of any crisis they may be experiencing. And again, the resource guide will be available to our parents. I'd like to turn now to the provisions of appropriate special education and related services for students with disabilities. And this was the second area that the Commissioner of Education emphasized that we needed to include in our plan. So we will have remote instruction for our special needs students. It'll consist of a combination of packets and online resources based on their individual IEP needs. And I will go through the description of the programs. So we have our preschool disabled. Packets will be provided to each student consisting of assignments for the following: language arts, mathematics, science, art, music, and phys ed. So as you could see, very similar to the slide that I shared with you with regard to our preschool, we'll be having the same activities provided for our preschool disabled children. For our autism in grades pre-K to 5, packets will be provided to each student consisting of assignments for language arts, which is reading and writing, mathematics, and Rethink will be utilized as the digital tool in order to ensure we're providing individualized student learning. For our autism students in grades 6 to 12, we will also be providing instructional packets that address reading and writing, mathematics, and as well as access to Rethink. For our learning language disability moderate students, grades 1 to 5, we're also providing instructional packets in all of the content areas you have before you. Reading and ELA, language arts, which is reading and writing, mathematics, science, social studies, art, music, and physical education, and also access to Rethink. As you can see for all of our programs, now we move into middle school, grades 6 to 8 for our learning language disabilities moderate children, and there will be e-learning through the unified classroom on Power School, where our students will be able to access their assignments for all of the areas that you see on the screen before you: language arts, math, science, social studies, art, music, phys ed, as well as access to Rethink. For our high school students, we're taking the same approach, access through Unified Classroom on PowerSchool, and they will have access to all of their assignments, and supplemental packets will be provided to address their IEPs in language arts literacy. And as you can see, all of the other programs are listed and it follows the same process in terms of ensuring all of our children are properly supported in all of the subject areas, inclusive of having Rethink available for our students and also their parents. So again, with our MD program for grades 1 to 8, as well as 9 through 12, you can see it's this very similar approach that we are taking, very specific with regard to the needs of our children. Our moderate cognitive program, grades 1 to 8, 9 through 12, as you can see, consistency in supporting all of our children across the grades. And then as I turn to related, As I turn to related services, Trinitas Hospital will be providing packets to all special needs students to address occupational therapy and physical therapy, and packets will also accompany Rethink to be utilized to address speech services. So the third component of the plan is the provision of school nutrition benefits or services for eligible students. So this plan has three components: equitable access, ensuring that the services for our special needs students, and lastly is school nutrition benefits. So the Elizabeth Public Schools Division of Food and Nutrition Services will order shelf-stable meals to ensure breakfast and lunch for our free and reduced population, which are 21,763 students. That represents 74.8% of the population that are free and reduced. The district will store the inventory at the district's warehouse. And we're currently in conversations with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and we're beginning our conversations with our City of Elizabeth officials in order for us to determine the points of distribution for the food. And this completes the presentation. I want to reinforce this last slide, which is how can I stay informed for our parents? Once again, if official information is posted on our city's website, www.elizabethnj.org, under news and announcements on the homepage, as well as our school website. And as you could see there, all of the ways in which both the mayor and myself can be contacted for any questions and concerns. And this completes our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent. So as we sit here, and even as in the healthcare provider, I feel like there's absolutely nothing funny about this. Every day is a new day. We approach it with all the guidance that they give us. For example, even at work today, you have to approach every single thing with care. And please, I tell you, we sit here and we're so concerned about our children because we want them to learn. And that's what we sit here to do, to have our children come to school and be instructed. So this is a new world. It's a virtual world. It's a world that I think I sit here, as many of you, that we've never gone through. Even us sitting at home when we're watching the news. We've been in health scares, but this one's pretty scary. So we have to appropriately go, and I say not even day by day, I say hour by hour. Communication is key. Communication is absolutely key. And I tell you, as the second largest district in New Jersey, it's very important that we stay informed with each other and with our city officials and with our state. So with that said, I need you to please be in communication with us. And how I say is keep an eye on our website. We will do everything to communicate through robocalls, you know, communications in the book bags. And that's how we have to stay informed, and that's how we're going to get through this. 1 week, 2 weeks, next month, next couple of months. We just have to be health-wise at home, in school. This week, I've seen things occur that I've never seen before. And I'm going to start with my superintendent, with her team. Hours and hours working on a plan, one sentence at a time, going into a world that we've never touched. Is it difficult? Oh, yes. Did they accomplish it? Oh, yes. Are we prepared? We're as prepared as we can be. We have sat here for the last hour and we heard a plan that she went through maybe in a half an hour, but it took hours and hours. 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, midnight, still here, sitting there for hours. So I have to say, way above, beyond the love for our children, did our superintendent, assistant superintendents, instructional staff, everyone in that room, everyone in this team, oh boy, did they work. As board members, communication, hour on hour, with our superintendent, with each other. We sit and we try to do the best that we can, but we are entering a world, we may be entering a world that it's difficult to analyze what comes next, but we're going to do it together, one day at a time. Again, super important, keep in touch with us. Make sure Power School is up to date. Our goal is the continuity of instruction. That's really what we're here to enforce. So with that said, I want to, and before I go on, I have to say, and I will personally say it, Tuesday morning, I contacted our director of our custodians, plant and property, with our superintendent, and we conferenced. And he mentioned that in an hour, I am going to meet all our heads of custodians to go over our protocol again. There's things that we're going to emphasize for the next couple of days, the next couple of weeks, the next couple of months, that we know have to be done. We have to be healthy conscience. So with that said, I will open the microphones to my fellow board members. Any comments, concerns?
Yes, Madam.
Yes,
President.
Commissioner Moreno.
I'm happy, and I want to say thank you to every staff who, I would say, working 24/7. Was extremely hard, and I'm very, very proud of everyone who was working very, very hard for the last couple days. This means a very well presentation, and I feel like we are very well prepared. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? This will be posted right away. Oh, yes.
I just
Commissioner
wanted
Carvalho.
to say that I know that parents come to these meetings every month, and you may not always agree with things that we decide on, but that this is not a time to be critical of the decision makers. This is the unknown, and we are doing everything possible to make sure that your children's best interests are taken care of. Not only your children, but our staff. So I need everyone to understand that you need to put some things aside and understand that we are in a situation of a crisis that we need to deal with, and that you need to trust that we are doing everything possible for your children to be safe and in a good environment, and that their educational priorities are being dealt with, and that we are here. We were all elected to be here to be the voice for your children, and that these are the times that we are manning up to make sure that those things are done. So please, this is not the time to be critical of the decisions that are being made. This is the time for you to stand by our side and support us. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. So now we move on to our public speaking. Just gonna ask for the list, please. All right, now we continue on. Citizens may address the board at this time. The microphones are open for public comment to those who have signed in prior to this session. I shall call individuals to the microphone based on the order of the sign-in. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 3 minutes in duration. The total time of public comment shall be limited to 60 minutes. No individual is able to yield their time to another individual. All statements shall be directed to the preceding officer. No participant may address or question the board's members individually. The following rules for public participation shall apply. Time limits will be strictly enforced. No personal attacks on individuals. No vulgar or indecent language. A person may address the board no more than once during a single meeting. Speakers should refrain from naming individuals. Comments or questions posed during public participation will not be debated. As a reminder, this is a meeting of the board in public, not a meeting of the public. So I'd like to call Mr. Kason Little to the microphone.
Good evening.
Good evening, Kason.
Madam Superintendent, what have you done to ensure that the promises you made to the community are being carried out? I have a major problem here, so let me get started. So the fact that our district has a budget of over $568 million and teachers are still spending hundreds of their own hard-earned money on supplies and disinfectant products, that bothers me. The fact that students are being told by their school administration to bring in products, disinfectant products to clean their desks with, as well, because of the district not being able to afford it, that bothers me. We have a major problem here that should outrage the entire community. We always have enough money to hire our friends, family members, those who donate to our campaign, help us during campaign season by knocking on doors, and our way to reward them by scratching their backs is to reward them with a job. Yet, a health scare as major as this, we still cannot seem to get our acts together. Well, let me redirect your attention to the fact that this is not the first time you've treated viruses so poorly in our district by not rewarding our staff with the necessary tools, resources, and supplies in order to help their students be protected. We've had, and still to this day, currently have many that are systemic. One of those are corruption, nepotism, cronyism, and greed. All are deadly to our children's education. We say that the safety and well-being of our students is a priority. Yet I ask again, what exactly is the district doing to protect our kids? We need the truth, and we need transparency, and we need nothing less. So I'll wait.
Thanks, Kason. Miss Maria Lorenz. Okay, Miss Maria, it's your turn. Thanks, Kason. Do you want to have a seat? No. Oh.
One person at a time.
Okay.
This is crazy.
Good evening.
Kason, have a seat.
You should answer him. I mean,
Do you need him standing next to you? One person at a time.
you can reset my clock. I haven't started.
I'm not speaking.
Go ahead, Ms. Lorenz. The microphone is yours. Oh, hold on. Yes.
The district, under state law, has the right to set rules, appropriate rules, for the public speaking session of the meeting, including one person at the microphone at a time.
Oh, that's new.
There's no reason for, Mr. Little, you had your time to speak. You spoke effectively. You spoke from the heart. Everybody listened to you. Please have a seat so that the next person's time can begin.
Surely, but can I just say this? Is that a new thing? Is that a new policy? Because you can call me standing behind parents many of times.
I'm having,
Just because the truth was
the microphone's not on. I'll be happy, here's what we'll do.
I said, you recall me
stop,
standing.
Stop.
You just
I'll talk
told
to
me
you
the
about this.
microphone wasn't on.
I'll talk to you about this during the break.
Thanks. So now we have to give Ms. Lorenz all the attention.
So if you caught me laughing while this presentation was happening, is because I don't understand how you do OT, PT, and speech through a packet. I'm not a licensed OT therapist, and my son gets OT services. So how everything is being done through a packet, when there's something that exists that's called compensatory services, perhaps that's escaped some of your vocabulary. It is a thing. You should look it up. Quite horrified since I went on the state website because the performance for the schools came out. And I was very horrified because I see that it's a continued thing. And we talk about the equity policy, which to me, quite frankly, is garbage because there is no equity in the Elizabeth Public Schools District. And why do I say that? I tell you that because when I looked at the performance scorecard, Edison has 25.7% of our special ed kids, 11.5% of our English learners. Jefferson, 13.1% on special ed, 13.1% on English learners. Halsey and Dwyer. Those 4 schools, Edison, Jefferson, Halsey, and Dwyer, if there are parents here that have their kids in these high schools, I want you to know they are graduating kids at below the state standard. That means that these schools are not meeting graduation rate requirements, and this has been going on for 6 years plus. That is a shame. And to top it off, you opened up the Baldwin Academy to distribute your percentages even more because there's 7.7 special ed in that school and 7.5 of your English language learners, which would have put one of your other schools into the 20s and 30% had they been distributed there, had the Baldwin Academy not existed. In addition to that, you have Sickerel that has 0.4%, that's less than 1%, and 0.2% of English learners. And you don't see a bias, you don't see a discrimination there? Less than 1%, let that sink in. In addition to that, I ask why 4 of our 7 high schools are not meeting state standard graduation requirements. This is substandard, and yet you call it equity. This alone reflects on your leadership. It's garbage. Because you, the board, and the superintendent have accepted 6 years of failing the majority of our high schools, and you have the nerve to celebrate it. Stupidity has a price, and it always gets paid. It's unfortunate that it's our students that is paying that price. I want you to think about that. 4 out of our 7 schools do not meet state standards, and they fail either English, math, or both state assessments because they don't meet those requirements either. So where's the equity? Where's the college preparedness that we so speak about? Think about
Thank you, Ms. Lawrence. We'll wait until everybody's sitting. Ms. Danielle? Ms. Danielle Feinberg, welcome.
I have a student who is in an out-of-district school, and I'm caught in a precarious situation. What if his school closes? What do I do then? What if our school district closes and he doesn't get transported to that school? On top of that, he gets a multitude of related services that I am not qualified to give him, as many of our special needs students do. I can't have him. He has ADHD, he's got autism, he's not gonna sit for a packet. He barely sits to play his tablet for 5 minutes, and those things are crack for kids his age. How are we going to expect our special education students to thrive, let alone survive, if we just acknowledge that we aren't able to provide them services in such a crisis as what we're facing, and then we made the promise that we would give them compensatory education later on via summer camps, via extended school year? How are you going to take a preschooler with a disability like autism when the majority of their program is social skills and have them on homebound instruction? They can't learn their social skills. As we see in a lot of these health scares, people with disabilities are left out and left behind in these plans. They're an afterthought. Our students with that are English language learners too, I worry about them. There's a lot of the Spanish students who might have somebody in their family that speaks English, but what about our lower incidence languages like Arabic? How are you supposed to teach your child an English lesson in English if you only speak and read Arabic? We are failing our students. We are failing the students that are on the fringes anyway with this plan. And I think that you guys put a really, really good plan in place for the kids that are in third and up, for the lower kids and for the kids on the fringes. This plan does nothing for them. It gives them an extended break, which they're going to be graded for failing. We need to rethink specifically for the younger children, for the English language learners, and for our special needs students. Thank you.
Thanks, Mrs. Feinberg. Miss Eve Bonolo?
Hi. I would like to say thank you for allowing me to speak today as a concerned parent. I'm also speaking on behalf of many parents in the audience that are with me today that share the same values and thoughts about the LGBTQ curriculum. So something completely different than what they've been talking about. As a parent of 2 girls in elementary school, I am here to state that we are completely against the implementation of the LGBTQ curriculum that was passed by our governor. We have no discrimination against the people themselves, but are against the curriculum that will harm all our children if we don't speak up now to stop it. It is every parent's God-given right and duty to care for our children and make the decisions about what they learn, how they learn it, and in the appropriate atmosphere as it pertains to sexuality. Each parent has a right to teach and speak to their children about sexuality and orientation the way we feel appropriate and on our own terms. Forcing children to learn about homosexuality and transgenderism is an assault on our freedoms, values, and faith. Towards the end of the First Amendment, it states that the government cannot prohibit the right to peacefully assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. We are here to assemble peacefully and petition the government as it is our right as citizens against the LGBTQ curriculum. This curriculum is disrespecting both our religion and our faith. It is insane that there are 50+ genders out there and will be taught in the schools to innocent children. What is wrong with the world today? God made only 2 genders, male and female, and it was determined at the conception of a child. God doesn't make mistakes. There are a lot of harmful side effects that the public school system may not be aware of. Obviously, the LGBTQ curriculum will not teach the negative aspects, but only the inclusive good aspects. But here are a few to keep in mind. Did you know that when a teen announces a transgender identity to their peer group, the number of friends who also become transgender identified is 3.5 per group? A study shows 100% of children who use puberty blockers will go on to use cross-sex hormones that will leave them permanently sterile. Last, after sex reassignment surgery, transgender identified people are nearly 20 times more likely to die from suicide. To conclude, many parents are concerned and have been speaking up to protect their children. There needs to be a solution fast before September 2020. We are taxpayers and need to have our opinions heard and respected. Please protect our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Bonolo. Thank you for coming out. Mr. Samet Bonolo. Thank you, Louis.
Okay. First, I would like to say thank you for giving us the time to come out and speak about education concern for our kids and let our voice to be heard. As we said, I'm part of the families in here and also representing some of the families that were not able to come today or attend this meeting. Also, as a parents of 2 students, we are disappointed in hearing of the bill that was passed by our governor that instruct all public schools to have mandatory LGBTQ curriculum that will be forced on our kids to learn in school. Where was our freedom of choice in this? As we, not taxpayer, to have our opinion to be heard before a bill like this to be passed that will affect our children's future, this should not be imposed on us by force. This is corruption to our kids' minds, keep them innocent as God created them. This is personal and intimate material that should be discussed in our homes, not in the public schools. When we feel this is the right time for them to learn or to teach. We should have the right to say no to this LGBTQ curriculum. Let kids to be kids and learn the basics. We send them to school for math, science, history, language arts, and reading should be the primary focus without sex orientation and gender mixed in. Teach our kids about how to excel in their studies, to go to college and make difference to our country and their futures. Government officials, Commissioner of the Education, and educators need to see parents as a paid customers, as all public schools are funded by our tax money. They need to acknowledge that they have to accept the parents' request to not subject their young students to such material if a parent considers it inappropriate for their age. As a parent, I'm a guardian of my children, not the state. Our country is built off of freedom of choice. Let's not forget that. Let us protect our children. To conclude, just as we are given a choice to opt out our kids to learn about sex education because we may feel it's not age appropriate for them in a school atmosphere, we need to expand the current state opt-out law to allow parents to opt their children out of the lesson if they object material or activities because they question, violate, or conflict with their family's belief or practice regarding sexuality, sex orientation, gender identity, and or expression, conscious ethics, morality, or religion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out. Next speaker, Mr. Sharib Shakir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Actually, I'm a parent of two kids, one at like pre-K and the second one at first grade. I'm actually coming at the same topic about the LGBTQ curriculum, and we are concerned about increasing pressure our schools are under to bring the LGBTQ curriculum and sexual topics into the classroom. We are not against the freedom of a division of people in the community as long as their freedom doesn't impact the freedom of the other categories of people. Your freedom stops at the limit of my freedom. We are concerned about the impact this curriculum has on our young students' psychological and physical well-being. It also violates parental rights and student religious freedom. I have all the rights to teach my kids about my religion, my beliefs, my culture, especially in the young ages. I am sending my kids to learn what is necessary to provide for themselves and their communities, not to learn moral values or to figure out their identity. Those things are not to be taught at home, at church, or other private institution. Learning about LGBTQ issues, families, and relationship is something that should be handled on the cultural level, not via standardized government lessons. Government officials and educators need to see parents as paid customers, as those schools are funded by our tax money. So they have to accept the parents' wishes of not to subject their young students to such material if the parents considered it inappropriate for their age. As a parent, we are the guardian of our children, not the state. Our country is built on freedom. Let's not forget that. In the meantime, how the schools want to give the kids complete freedom to decide his gender, and when the school gives kids candy, you ask for signed parents' permission slip. I think kids cannot decide what is right or wrong. We believe at that young age, the school should not provide information about sexuality, gender identity, or anatomy of human beings other.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out. Now I call Mr. Petro Abdelmishi. Mr. Petro. Good evening, Mr. Petro.
Sorry. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen with the board. I'm sorry, I hope I'm not insulting anybody since we're talking about a very sensitive subject by addressing you by either ladies or gentlemen. I'm here also about the LGBT community. I don't have anything prepared like some of the other people, so I'm kind of just going on the fly of what I thought about. I remember I'm a product of the Elizabeth public school system. I met some of you, some of the board members last week. I remember when it had something to do with sexuality in the school, it was only based on what, what bathroom you went into, or what gym class you had to go to, or what sports team you did. It wasn't really something that was actually taught in the class, where you had to make a decision based on what you were. We were all pretty much, back then, it was simpler, I guess, if you want to say. We didn't have too many things burdening us like now. There's also things where, back when we were in school, whether it was me or my friends in other districts or in other different schools, that you could always opt out of certain things, whether it be opt out of a gym class for health reasons, opt out of a specific subject for religious reasons or cultural reasons, opt out of class trips, opt out of even certain food based on, cultural or religious reasons. Why is it that this is something that we still can't find a way to opt out of? I have 2 kids in the school system. One is in pre-K, one is still in daycare, and I'm worried about them. When we were younger, me and my sister, she's also a product of the Elizabeth school system, public school system. My parents only had to worry about something very simple. They were worried about my sister being either bothered or harassed in school because she was a beautiful girl, and they were worried about me getting in trouble, where to the point the police had to get involved because I was a rambunctious boy. But now, where society is going and where this curriculum is trying to lead us to, I'm actually starting to worry more about my son than my daughter, because I feel that my son will be affected more by this than my daughter. Because if somebody sees a girl who's a little bit stronger than the average girl, nobody says anything. But if they see a boy who seems to be a little bit softer, people get mad and they start harassing them and chasing them, and other things get worse. So we're trying with this curriculum to somehow push kids that maybe know that, okay, daddy's a strong man, mommy's a strong woman, but daddy's a boy, mommy's a girl. Let's not confuse them. Most of the main things we learned when we were back in school was math, science, English, social studies. In the public school system, religion wasn't really part of it. So any religion that we learned was based on whatever religion we associated with, whether it be, in a church, in a temple, in a mosque, in a hall, whatever it was. And your sexuality was your sexuality. It's how you were born. You were born, they put a little blue card on your little bassinet in the hospital that you're a boy.
Thank you, Mr. Petro. Next, I'll call Ms. Martina Salgado. Oh, not on the microphone. Okay. Okay. Next, I'll call Ms. Michelle Santos.
Good evening.
Good evening, Michelle.
I'm here because I'm concerned about these packets for special education. My daughter's in kindergarten and has autism, and I'm not sure how a packet being sent home to her is going to work. I understand the situation that we are in. It's a no-win situation, and I understand that. Unfortunately, it's still not going to help our community as far as the little kids are concerned. This is going to cause regression, as we already know. We don't know how long this is going to last. It can last anywhere from 14 to 30 days. Who's going to collect data? How are we going to determine if they're hitting their goals? I'd like to know exactly how it is that this is going to happen. If this is going to be a long-term thing, maybe we should come up with a plan during an extended school year that we should be, teaching them what they did miss. Also, for speech and OT, How would a packet work? I personally am not qualified to teach my daughter speech or OT. Maybe we should have a training for parents to help them say, hey, maybe this is what we should do, this is how you can do it, and so forth. Because sending these kids home and keeping them there for 14 days to 30 days is not going to work. I work. My daughter has ABA after school. We're going to keep her home. How am I supposed to work with her if I work all day and then she has therapy in the afternoon? So I understand where the situation where we are, but I also need clarification on how this is going to work. Because we as parents need to be concerned. I don't need my child to regress. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Santos.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, my God. Thank you, Ms. Santos. All right, so we are going to ask any commissioners, any comments? But before I do that, I'm going to close the public comments. To the public portion of this meeting, I do want to thank you all for coming out. Lots of concerns, and we do listen. And we're going to, again, a lot of concerns. I think this pretty much answers. We're going to take this one step at a time. There will be a lot of communication, so don't worry. And we do listen, okay? And thank you again for coming out. At this time, though, I'm going to request a motion to go into private session to consider matters exempt under the Open Publics Meeting Act, specifically for discussion of personnel, contracts, and legal matters. The board will reconvene in public and may take formal action. We will be very closely in touch. Mr. Kennedy, roll call, please. Oh, can I have a motion to go into private, please, for my commissioners?
I motion to go into private session.
Second. Thank you. The motion has been properly made and seconded. Mr. Kennedy, roll call, please.
Carvalho,
Here, yes.
Chevres,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Jacob,
Yes.
Marina Ortega,
Yes.
Pestana,
Yes.
Barbosa.
Yes. Have a good evening, whoever doesn't stay. We'll be back. Thank you, and I'd like to proceed to invite a very special guest that will give us important information through this that we're going through, and it's our from our Elizabeth Public Health Department. So I want you to take it away. This is Mr. Mark Colicchio, right? I said the last name right. Colicchio, and you're going to do just a small presentation and answer some questions that we may have. So go ahead. You have your microphone? Okay, please take us. Oh, no. No, take us into your world.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Mark Colicchio. I'm the health officer for the city of Elizabeth. Tonight I'm going to be talking about the hot topic today in public health and everywhere else, which is COVID-19. All right, the coronavirus, as we call it. What is a coronavirus? It's a common family of viruses. We have a few hundred of them floating around out there. They're usually seasonal. They cause respiratory illness, and they spread like cold and flu. All right, what is COVID-19? COVID-19, it's a novel virus. Novel means new. It's a term that means new. And the word novel, it's scary. All right, it began in China, Wuhan, China, 12/19. All right, and the scary part is there's no immunity to it. All right, it's not like other ailments where you develop immunity. There is no immunity because it's brand new. All right, other recent coronaviruses. You had SARS back in 2003, and in 2012 you had Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome. All right, those are all in the family of coronaviruses, like this one. But what often happens are viruses, bacterium, microorganisms. They go through sometimes a process called mutation, where they take on totally different characteristics of their own, sort of like they become like a whole new organism. So when you hear different strains, these are examples of mutations. And this is exactly what happened here, like what happened with SARS and what happened with MERS. As you could see, by the way, too, I'm going to explain how information on this is changing. And just to let you know, when I walked into the office at 4:30, bang, I got a new set of slides, which is what you're seeing. You're seeing actually the updated version. As you can see, this now turned into a pandemic. Take a look at all of those cases that are popping up. All right, am I at risk? All right, that's what everybody wants to know, what our risk level is. The current risk to the general public in the United States is still considered low. All right, it's still considered very low, but it's rapidly changing. Like I said, information is changing now. Things are just going on so much. I can go back to my desk tomorrow morning and I could see changes. The state emails us what you call new talking points. That's new information that's occurring on this. And I remember the other day, all right, I got 3 sets of talking points, one in the morning, one about lunchtime, and one about 5 o'clock, which is one of the reasons when I talk about what the city is doing, communicating with the Board of Education, I'm on the phone with our superintendent of schools at least twice a day, going into updates. All right, so it's rapidly changing. All right, the risk assessment may change daily as information changes, and it includes also very enhanced health screenings. Isolation versus quarantine. That's sometimes very confusing. All right, yeah, because you're hearing that term a lot, quarantine and isolation. But there is a difference between the two, although it's confusing. When someone is isolated, it means that you're separating sick people, all right, from the community, from people that are well. So that would be isolation. Someone is suffering symptoms, either whether or not they have the infectious disease or not, they're suffering the symptoms, we want to isolate that person. So they're sick, they're not suffering symptoms. Whereas quarantine, that's somebody that's exposed to the infectious agent. All right? They're not showing signs and symptoms, and we don't know if they will get the disease, but they have to be separated from the public for the duration of the incubation period, and I'm going to get into that a little bit later. All right, we have active monitoring versus passive monitoring. All right, now what's going on now is there's enhanced screenings. Newark International Airport is one of the, Newark Liberty Airport, I'm sorry, I was always brought up it was Newark Airport, so please forgive that. Newark Liberty International Airport is one of the 11 airports in the country. They have a quarantine station that's overseen by the CDC. All right, I'm in constant contact with them. I developed a working relationship with them. They're actually overseen by the U.S. Public Health Service, which I'm not sure, which is technically, it's a branch of the military under the Secretary of Health and Human Services, specifically designed for public health purposes. So I actually have the commander on speed dial, and I would say I'm on the phone with them at least 2 to 3 times a week, because I want to monitor activity. I get very upset when things get past me. So one of the things that I do is partner with them, and I work with them, and I'm calling her several times during the week. How's the screening? What's the activity like? Are you screening this country yet? Are you screening this country yet? And probably tomorrow she's going to get another phone call from me. They're overwhelmed as well. So we have that. And then, of course, we have the enhanced screenings. All right? Some where they're screening for risks of COVID-19. And then, of course, you have active and passive monitoring, whereas if symptoms are being showed, or now if you're coming from an affected area that they're screening, they're pretty much issuing a 14-day quarantine, self-monitoring quarantine. In some cases, they check in with the local health departments. Some cases, they don't. The state has a sophisticated system called the CDRSS, Communicable Disease Reporting System. And when airports turn in their flight manifests, all right, the CDC refers it to the state that will refer it to the municipality. So we'll see the name pop up on the CDRSS. So our public health nurses are then checking in and making sure that they take their temperature twice a day and monitoring them for symptoms. Whoops. Putting your risk into perspective, all right, the flu causes millions of cases of illness each year in the United States. All right, I had an updated version of statistics going back from October of 19 through February of this month, and it's just amazing. We've had 18,000 deaths related to flu. All right, roughly 330,000 hospitalizations and millions of cases of influenza, millions. All right, and there's ways, you know, people getting flu shots. All right, it says 2017 and 18, the estimated number. I was able to get the updated stats, but I haven't had a chance to put them up there. Flu severity, it's unpredictable. You never know. And what can often happen, too, is that you can get people that are generally very healthy and can get very sick from the flu. Those things happen. All right, in general, flu causes low level of concern. But in the times that we're in, I'm concerned about it. All right, take a look at some of the signs and symptoms of COVID-19. Respiratory illness, fever, cough, shortness of breath. Now, when we say fever, we're looking at temperatures of 100.4 or above, because that's usually a guideline we use in the school system. So you know what, fever, I know our body temperature is normally 98.6, but doctors and hospitals get more concerned when they're seeing 100.4 and above. All right, cough, shortness of breath. All right, and it can range from mild to severe. All right, and deaths, all right, and this is something that I want you all to take away. Deaths occur mostly in patients that have underlying health conditions, heart disease, diabetes, people that have just had surgery, people that have cancers, or people that have recovered from cancers. These are folks that need to be more concerned. I'm going to just let you know that a lot of cases now, patients are sometimes not even hospitalized in their home recovering on their own. All right, how do coronaviruses spread? Through the air with coughs and sneezes. In public health terms, we call that droplet nuclei. All right, particles that come out of your mouth, out of your nose when you sneeze, that are inhaled, that can cause illness. And they can travel up to about 6 feet, which is why you hear the 6 feet rule. All right, and you could also spread it by touching a surface with the germ and touching other things like your face, your eye, and children, people putting their fingers in their mouths. But the good news is I have not seen any cases in children in this. All right, the lowest age I've seen was 18 years old. So you know what? As they say, knock on wood. Healthcare workers need to wear protective gear as they're treating patients. All right, because patients are coming in sick. Incubation period. Incubation period is pretty much the time frame from when you're exposed to an infectious agent to when signs and symptoms occur. All right, and the incubation period for this particular disease is 2 to 14 days. So when we quarantine somebody, we're quarantining someone for the incubation period. All right, like I said, for COVID-19, 2 to 14 days, and there are some reports, like in other diseases, where people can actually be infectious before they show signs and symptoms. All right, and that's what makes this challenging. Treatment. There is no specific treatment because it's a new virus, so there is no treatment. Treatment is done through what we call supportive care, meaning that the symptoms are treated as they go along, and if people are sick enough, they'll be hospitalized and treated. All right, what if I live in an area where community spread may occur and become sick? And that's happening. That's starting to happen. All right, most people will have mild illness and treat themselves at home through rest, fever-reducing medications, plenty of fluid, and healthy foods. At what point should I be seeking medical attention? If you are sick with what may be COVID-19 and experience any of the following, you should seek medical attention. Difficulty breathing or shortness of breath, persistent pain or pressure in the chest, new confusion or the inability to arouse, blush lips in the face. This list is not all inclusive. Consult your physician. All right, the elderly and those with underlying medical conditions, regardless of age, are at high risk. Older adults, like I said, people with chronic medical conditions like heart disease, diabetes, lung, and etc. All right, what should the elderly and those with underlying conditions do? Have medications and supplies. Avoid close contact with people that are sick. Avoid crowds. Take preventative actions. Speak to your healthcare provider. And I know, before I get on with this, people are always asking the question of masks. Who should have them and who shouldn't? The general public should not be wearing masks. Masks are only designed for people that are sick, not just with this disease, but if you're sick with a cold or flu, you don't want to pass it on to other people. So wearing a mask will help. Also, healthcare professionals that have to treat patients should be wearing masks. COVID-19 in children, some good news. According to a study of some 70,000 cases in China, it says 2% of COVID-19 cases have occurred in children under the age of 19. In the United States, the youngest case has been 18. So, you know what? Parents with children under the age of 19 who have underlying health conditions should talk to their healthcare provider to discuss risks and a plan of action. All right, there are still plenty of unknowns out there. We're learning more and more about this virus every day. There's much the CDC doesn't know. All right, they're analyzing data and they're sharing it as it becomes accessible. All right, the information, like I said, what's happening is the federal government is sharing it with the states, who's sharing it with the local health departments. How can we prevent the spread? Common sense hygiene. All right, cover coughs and sneezes with your tissue or sleeve. Wash hands often, or if soap and water is not available, that's when you use hand sanitizer. Hand sanitizer does not replace soap and water. I'm noticing now you're going into stores and you're seeing no hand sanitizer, but plenty of soap and water. Plenty of soap. That makes no sense to me. All right? When my inspectors go in and inspect restaurants, you know what? I'm telling them now, I want you to look more for hand washing. All right? More for bare hand contact with ready-to-eat foods. In the world we're living in today, those things we take for granted have to be stressed more. All right. Stay home when you're sick. Avoid people that are sick. Social distancing. So, social distancing. It's a new concept, and this is brand new. You're seeing, you know what? There's a lot more places are closing. And I'm seeing this. I'm hearing things on the news. I think things have changed probably about 10 times since I did my last presentation this afternoon. It's extremely difficult to keep up with. Should I wear a mask? I believe I covered that already. All right, different types of masks. What if I'm planning to travel to an affected area? The CDC, check the CDC websites. They update them all the time. So if you're looking to travel, make sure that you're not in an affected zone. You know what? Constantly check the websites because things are constantly changing. Avoid all non-essential travel to areas specified by the CDC and check frequently. If you must travel, common sense measures. Avoid contact with sick people. Wash hands often. All right, avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. If I recently traveled to an affected area and feel sick, what do? See a doctor. All right, but we encourage people to call before they go in. Don't just show up. You want to call before you go in so that they could be ready for you. All right. If not seriously ill, treat yourself at home in consultation with your medical provider. Like I said, call before you go. Do not use public transportation if you're sick. Cover your mouth, basic hygienic practices. What is the CDC doing to identify cases? All right, close monitoring, working with state and local health departments, monitoring travelers with symptoms compatible with COVID-19. All right. New slide here, health alert. For 2 weeks after your trip, watch your health. Stay home if you feel sick with fever, cough, or difficulty breathing. Call a doctor. Tell the doctor about your travel. Who should be tested? And this is very tricky on who should be tested and who should not be tested. The CDC in the state, they set criteria for it. And that too changes. All right, that's becoming a little bit more liberal, where I believe now they've included people at 65 and older with underlying conditions. Now, what happens is that if the hospital, Elizabeth and Trinitas, we have a specific protocol when it comes to testing, whereas if they feel someone is a candidate, they call the local health department, and they have to get the okay from the local health department before the state gets involved. And then what happens is we conference it. We talk things out, and then we decide if it's an appropriate case. I'm very liberal about allowing testing because, you know what, if a physician is recommending to me, all right, that someone needs to be tested, as the health officer for this city with an unknown virus, I will push and I want that person tested. There's no general screening or swabbing for people who do not have symptoms. There we go. All right, and there you can see some of the risk levels, all right, not sick, not symptoms, and then it says different actions that you can take. A few key terms: close contact, being within approximate 6 feet of a person confirmed to have COVID-19, all right, for a prolonged period of time. Self-isolation, like I said, separates sick people from well people, and social distancing, avoiding group settings, mass gatherings, and maintaining distance. Preparing at home, it says 2-week supply of food and water, medications, non-prescription drugs, all right, household items, health records, all right. COVID-19 and pets, they added this. They actually updated these slides a lot from my last presentation. To date, no reports of pets being infected. All right, that was the rumor going around that dogs were infected with this. No, there is no record of that. That just came out, which is good because I have my 2 dogs at home waiting for me, and the last thing I want is for them to get sick. All right, if sick with COVID-19, all right, you should resist contact with pets and other animals while you're sick, just as a precaution. All right, have another person care for your animals. All right, avoid petting, snuggling, being licked, and sharing food. Like I said, there's a lot of unknowns with this virus. Right now, pets, there's no connection with pets. What is the New Jersey Department of Health doing to prepare us? All right, they're working closely with the CDC and public health partners. All right, they're establishing conference calls. They're coming up every day with different guidelines. Our Union County health officers decided to demand a little bit more from the state, and these are private conference calls weekly. We have with the Communicable Disease Service, our epidemiologist, weekly conference calls on what is going on in Union County. Because nobody owns a disease. No town owns a disease. All right? People can get sick in Berkeley Heights where there is a case, as well as Elizabeth, as well as Plainfield. So we believe in sharing information. We're on the phone with each other every single day, all right, trying to deal with this. All right? I'm on the phone with the county health officer daily. I'm on the phone probably twice a day with the superintendent. She already knows, like, oh, okay, it's Mark. Something's up. Mark Colicchio's on the phone. And that's okay. I do the same thing when she calls me. It's called sharing information because we're a team here, folks. I can't do this alone. You can't do this alone. We need everybody. We need each other. For more information, you can go on the New Jersey Department of Health website. You can go on the CDC website, our city website, and the Elizabeth Board of Education website. And important hotline number, it's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All right, any question people have on COVID-19, operators are standing by. That is it, I'm done. Thank you. Questions, any concerns? Thank you.
No questions? Thank you so much to our health officer, Mark Colicchio. Thank you for being that team with us. It's very important. Okay, thank you. Have a wonderful, healthy night. All right, and now any comments or questions from the commissioners? No? We continue on to agenda. And I'd like to add a couple of resolutions to the agenda. I'd like to add resolution qualifying and appointing health benefits broker, resolution qualifying and appointing risk manager, award of contracts, Altice Business Student Wi-Fi service, resolution appointment of principal, resolution approval of e-remote learning plan, resolution settlement of workers' comp LM, resolution settlement of workers' comp AB, resolution of settlement of workers' comp AB, resolution settlement of special education KM.
One more thing we need to do is put the resolution for submitting the budget on the agenda.
I'd like to add to place a resolution for the submission of the budget on the agenda.
Yes.
Okay, and also, now I'd like to continue on. I'd like to place the agenda. I'd like to place the agenda on record
In its entirety.
in its entirety
Okay,
for next Thursday board meeting.
thank you.
Any,
Madam President?
Yes,
I ask for a
Commissioner.
motion to table page 10, tab 2, the first name.
I hear a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. The motion has properly made and seconded. Roll call, please.
Carvalho.
This one.
I'm sorry. Chevres.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Marina Ortega.
Yes.
Pestana.
Yes.
Barbosa.
Yes. And any questions before we move the agenda in its entirety? Do we need a roll call?
No, we don't need a roll call.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions or comments from our board members for tonight? No?
Just one comment.
Yes.
And I just want to reiterate what was mentioned before and really thank our superintendent and our educators, our administrators for really doing the best that they can for our almost 30,000 students in our school district and for our food service, for our custodial staff, and for our security to really thank them and, you know, keeping our children safe and sanitized the best way possible. Your hard work and dedication does not go unnoticed. We are doing this as a team. Mr. Glack and I heart you too. And we really do appreciate you for all your hard work and dedication. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, you're absolutely right. And I'm just going to ask for 1 minute. We might have to make one.
Madam President?
Yes, Commissioner.
I also would like to echo the comments from my fellow colleagues as far as the work has been done by the administration, but most especially, you know, our custodial staff, because sometimes our custodial staff, you know, goes unnoticed, you know, and they really deserve recognition on the fact of what they're doing in the schools and trying to keep our schools clean. But I mean, it's a team effort, you know, from the top down, and we really do see that nowadays, where we're seeing our custodians, you know, one of our colleagues mentioned a story about how a child was sick in the classroom, and they had the other children segregated out of the classroom, and the custodian was in there cleaning that classroom, making sure that it was clean. And this was before the COVID virus broke out. So it just goes to show how our staff really go above and beyond when it comes to taking care of our schools and our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you for sharing that with us. I'd like to have a motion and a second to suspend the rules.
Motion is to suspend the rules.
I second that.
On the award of contract Altice Business Student Wi-Fi Service and on resolution approval of e-remote learning plan.
Yeah.
Motion has.
Motion to have out for Altice and also for the e-remote learning plan as well.
Second?
Motion has properly moved and been seconded. Roll call, please.
Chevres.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Marina Ortega.
Yes.
Pestana.
Yes.
Barbosa.
Yes.
Can I vote too?
Board Member Carvalho is back.
Board
Hello there.
Hey.
Mrs. Carvalho.
Welcome back.
Just for point of clarification, this is so that all of our students across the entire district have internet service.
Yes.
Correct.
In case we have to close schools and.
Proceed with the e-remote learning plan.
Thank you.
That
And
is
my vote
absolutely
is
correct.
yes.
Thank you for clarifying that. That's actually very important. And that will be a service that will be provided.
At an extra expense.
To the district.
Absolutely. Okay, any more comments or questions before we adjourn?
Oh, God.
I have one.
Yes.
I think we should congratulate our boys basketball team for winning the Group 4. And Coach Colicchio's 500th victory.
500 wins. Congratulations, Coach.
You are absolutely right. Congratulations, Coach. Great job to our team. Go Ye.
And
Very
especially
good.
since they couldn't have the sixth man there.
Oh, yes, it was a little different this time, but they still succeeded. Excellent, excellent. Well, as we close this meeting, I'd just like to spread all of goodwill and health out there as we progress through this unknown territory, but with a lot of confidence that we are ready for what's to come. We are prepared because we are going to do this together. We will communicate any new information, constantly updating our website. Please download our EPS app. Go onto our website for current information. Remember, there are two sources of information here, coming from our mayor in the city of Elizabeth and coming from our superintendent. We are working with them, and we will get through this, however it may be resolved. I just want to wish everybody a great night and see you soon. Mr. Kennedy, roll call, please.
Do we have a
I
motion?
need a motion and a second.
I motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Second. Thank you. Motion has been properly made and seconded. Mr. Kennedy, roll call, please.
Carvalho.
Yes.
Chevres.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Jacobs. Yes. Marina Ortega.
Yes.
Pastana.
Yes.
Barbosa.
Yes, remember, wash your hands and eat healthy. Have a wonderful night, and we'll get through this together. Good night.